Hey everybody, it's Deborah over at Coming Soon Homes and the Restless Real Estate Podcast. And today I've got one of my favorite agents.
Thank you, Thomas Wohl.
Thomas Wohl.
Hi everybody.
And tell us a little bit about yourself, Thomas, real quick.
Well, I've been with RE/MAX for 20 years and I've been a #1 agent in North Carolina, Wake County, Cary and surrounding areas. And after 20 years I switched over to EXP for a new platform that in my opinion is the greatest and the best because it is for a new technology-centered company that actually can take ownership. So I still love what I do after 20 years, although I've been in business for 27 years now.
Ooh,
oh my God.
27
See?
years!
No hair,
Yeah.
no hair.
Yeah.
But after 27 years, actually I'm very, very happy and now I'm energized to do something even better.
That's
and
awesome.
something more.
That's amazing. Thomas is one of my best agent friends, colleagues. I've learned so much from him being here in Raleigh. And I'm stoked because typically the Restless Real Estate Podcast is shot here in our local office here in Raleigh. But episode 34, Thomas and I actually went off-site. We shot at an awesome local business called The Kitchen Table. It's phenomenal. They've got all kinds of good food. So just take a couple minutes. Not a couple minutes. It's actually going to be more like 35, 45 minutes.
Because the food is awesome, actually.
Touche.
Awesome.
So you get to watch us eat, talk about real estate. You learn a ton of Thomas's tidbits and tricks and how he's been able to build his business to become the #1 agent in this market. So definitely stand by and check out this awesome next podcast episode. We'll talk to you soon.
And you will know my secret. I'm not going to tell you right now, but you will know my secret. Listen to the podcast.
Keep listening. We'll see you later.
Bye.
This episode is going to dig deep into a really big top producer. I mean, how many homes and buy-sides and lists do you think you do a month?
Probably about 5 or 6.
Okay, five or six. But he also does a pretty myriad of different kinds of properties, different territories. And so Thomas is all over the place. But what I love about his business and what he's done, and I think one of the reasons why he's most successful is because, I'm going to be honest, he is no BS, which I love. So we're going to dig in a little bit today, talk about Thomas, and see kind of what he's had to do to build his business to such an incredible level. So Thomas, take it away.
All right, so most of you don't know me, but my name is Thomas Wohl. I'm Hungarian, as you can hear my southern accent, no secret. So I came to the US in 1990, and I came here to play basketball because my father was here.
Yeah.
And he used to be a chef for the governor.
Really?
No political affiliation, just let's say it was a governor.
Blanket statement.
Blanket statement, yes. And because I came here, I tried out for NC State.
Yeah.
I didn't like this setup because to me, I came from a poor Hungarian country, right?
Yeah.
And what happened when I played for my team, it was a junior national team. It was just basketball.
Right.
Right? So when I came here, it was like, oh my God, you're paying for a college. I said, yeah, but it's really just a step down for me, not a step up, which I didn't know any better then.
Uh-huh.
So long story short, 3 years later, I went to see my uncle who has a huge ass house, and I said, how did you get a house that big? And he says, well, I work for Levi's Dockers, but if it was me, if I would start over, I would sell real estate. And I said, that's interesting. What's that?
Yeah.
Says, you can talk to people and, sell houses. Great.
You're like, I could do that.
Yeah. I love the idea. So in 1993, I got my license. Back then, there were no broker licenses. There were only salesperson license.
Wow.
Then you actually had to apply for a broker license, and I don't remember quite how, but I could only be a salesperson.
Got it.
So in 1993, I started my business, and of course, being from Hungary, being from a different culture, it was very, very tough to get started because I didn't know how everything worked
I can imagine.
in business.
Yeah.
It was very, very hard for me to understand of how to market myself.
Right.
How to not necessarily talk to people, but the right way to talk to people, right?
Because it was a different culture.
Very.
Completely different.
Very.
Yeah.
And back then there was no internet. We MLS, we actually have floppy disks. You could only insert them 3 times because if you didn't, basically you had to get a whole new set. So business arithmetic was different, and when I came into business, a few years before, we had MLS books.
With all the listings.
All the listings. There were not even computers.
Print.
So, yes, print listings. So the way I promoted myself is put in advertising a News and Observer with my smiley face, right? And houses that I have listed or I have sold. Wow. And that's pretty much how business was done.
Yeah.
So, things have changed.
Right.
And what, looking back 27 years now, looking back what I know, that a few years back somebody said something to me which kind of irked me, but I understood why they said that.
Yeah.
And somebody said to me, you know, you actually work too hard. And I said, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
What's wrong with in their eyes? The times have changed. Technology enables you to do something better,
Right.
but it doesn't replace this hard work. And I think that's where people vary in opinion.
Yeah.
Where technology you can use, in my opinion, to enhance your abilities. It doesn't replace hard work. It
Right.
doesn't replace motivation. It doesn't replace what you do as a person.
And it doesn't replace human connection, which is
That is
huge.
very true.
Which is a big part of your business.
Yes, that is correct. So if you look at the NER average, or look at each agent, I think it varies how many houses people sell.
Right.
I believe it or not, I have never looked at how many houses I sell. I know end of the year what I do.
Right.
But normally I think I do between 45 to 55 transactions a year.
Wow.
But
Oh my god.
food, yay, thank you.
This looks amazing.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So quick disclaimer, we are sitting here
Having breakfast.
having breakfast at, I think, one of the coolest spots here in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. This is called the Kitchen Table, and it is such a cool spot. We're going to show you some stuff about this awesome place. They've got all kinds of cool stuff like board games to play. Obviously, amazing, amazing food. So if you ever find yourself here in the Raleigh area, definitely be sure to check out breakfast and lunch here at the Kitchen Table. It's one of the coolest places you can ever eat at, but we're going to dig in while we continue.
So bon appetit.
So you had last stopped at, you don't really necessarily look at the number of listings that you have until the end of the year.
I operate also differently than most agents do, right? Because a lot of people
In what way?
go, well, a lot of agents have a business plan. I'm not saying it's wrong or right. All I'm saying is it's just different, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times, bigger teams, they look at numbers, which they have to because, of course, real estate also involves finances, without a question.
Right.
What I always focused on is serving my customers best of my ability and best of my knowledge. And that did not involve money.
That's
Where,
big.
in my opinion, many of the new agents fail is chasing the money. And that to me is a very, very wrong approach.
The next check.
That is correct. What I always chased and what I like to be drunk on is not alcohol. I like
what
to be
is it?
drunk on success.
I love that. Yeah.
Success will bring whatever you dream of. But the number one thing, you have to be extremely good at what you do.
Yep.
You have to love what you do. You know, I don't mind going to work because it is my passion.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And I also give always the right advice. I think I'm one of the few agents, not the only, who will tell people what not to buy. Because everybody's focusing on a great house and a nice kitchen, that's fine, but I always give advice on what not to buy so people do not get hurt financially. Although I cannot influence the economy, I get that. But in a downturn, for example, let me give you an example of that. Back in 2008, 2009, in 2008, I was the number one agent in Wake County. But before that, most people didn't even know my name.
Right.
Why?
Yeah.
Because when I paved the road to be successful, it wasn't about fame, it was about giving the right service and selling the right house. Because of that, where people have lost 20-30% of their equity, some of my clients did lose money, everybody did.
Right.
But they maybe lost 5% versus 20 because they bought the right house, in the right cul-de-sac, or the right lot, or the right area to make sure that most people would want to buy it no matter what. So that is my success story, that not one single one of my clients went through foreclosure.
That's
Not
crazy.
one, not a single one.
And something else that he actually shared with me a little earlier that was pretty shocking is, you know, I understand that every so often you might not be able to sell a house, but I think it is absolutely phenomenal that you have not had any terminations over the past year.
No.
And that's a phenomenal thing because you do business the right way and you're focused and you have the right mindset on what's important to you in your business, like you said.
And it doesn't mean it cannot happen because sometimes you don't have a right chemistry.
Right.
And that to me is even not a termination. You just say, by the way, we just don't see eye to eye, we don't feel a right chemistry, and that happens sometimes, right? in this point of my career, I just don't work with those people. I know up front that we don't have a right setup.
Yeah.
But I don't get terminated because of knowledge, because of laziness, because of not to show the right property, whatever that might be. So I don't have that issue, but once again, I pay attention to what I do versus chasing the numbers. What a lot of agents make a mistake of, they have to have 4 sales or 5 sales or 10 sales, whatever it is.
Right.
It will come with time.
Yeah.
Now, also the disclaimer, I work mostly on a higher end.
Yeah.
So my clients typically between 4 to 800,000. So when I see I do between 40 to 50 transactions, that also it does a higher volume.
Right.
So when I was younger, I actually did less transactions at a much lower price point.
Got it.
But where I grew, I actually have sold houses to my clients' children.
Wow.
And hopefully
it's a generational cycle.
Cycle. So it's important because once again everybody steps up.
Right.
And that's in my opinion a good building block of the business.
Yeah.
Of once again, it is not the house. It is always a client.
I'm curious, when you, way back when you first started in real estate, were you confident at that point enough to go into a client and say, this isn't the right fit?
No.
So
I learned.
So that's changed over time.
Because you also gain knowledge. So when I first got started, I didn't know anything, and every company said they were training. And one thing have changed. So when I started to work, first I worked for York Properties, which is a local company. There are a lot of commercial areas developed downtown Raleigh. But York Property, which is a fantastic company, have given training, but the training was how to fill out an offer to purchase and contract. There was nothing about how to give advice, how to serve your clients, how to promote yourself, because back in the 90s it wasn't the case.
Right.
So things have changed, and training I would have loved to have is basically how to do business the right way. Not necessarily how to fill out an offer to purchase and contract. It's important, but doesn't give you success.
Yeah.
Yep.
And with all of that, though, I mean, you've obviously had to overcome some failures, right? I mean, what's your take on how you get through a failure and why you've reached where you're at?
So have I failed? Yes, and I'm sure everybody has.
Yeah.
The difference is, I think I fail probably every day about something. I'm not necessarily not good at, maybe not 100%. I'm also a perfectionist.
Yeah.
So failure to me is an opportunity to reevaluate what I need to do differently. Versus it, oh my God, life is not good, I have failed. No.
Right.
I know what not to do and how not to do it. So you can always look at something that what's wrong or what you can learn from that.
Yeah.
My philosophy is life is too short to make mistakes on yourself, or basically make mistakes that everybody else have done, but you want to do it yourself because you're not willing to learn. I want to learn from other people's mistakes, so I make less.
Right.
All of us will,
right.
But I want to make less because I like to actually learn from others that have failed.
That's
so
great.
I'm sure you know, I also teach other agents.
Yeah.
And what I teach is how to do business the proper way. And it's shocking to me why people don't want to listen and don't want to do something that is so obvious. They just want to fail on themselves and be miserable.
They're like, let me learn on my own.
Because
fail.
that is correct, which fine,
right.
personal choice, but why?
Yeah.
Right? Why?
If you could learn from someone else's mistakes and jump ahead, not have to go through that and experience it. But I think a lot of agents now are kind of a little bit closed-minded. They want to do things the way they've been doing them for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and you have to innovate. I mean, you've been in the industry for how long?
27.
27 years. So you've seen the ebb and tides when technology came into play.
Sure.
What kind of how have you leveraged technology in the right way for your business?
So let me just go back to what you just said just for a second. You mentioned that agents been in the market for 10, 15 years, and a lot of them top out in a production level at some point. Do you know why? Because they're not willing to change and not willing to adopt. And not willing to put in that get comfortable, but also they don't have a production. So not to brag on myself.
Yeah.
But 2016, 2017, I was a #1 agent with Remax in the Carolinas, right?
Crazy.
So how did I get there? It's many, many different factors, but one thing I know, in order to remain the same, I had to change. And what I had to change, I had to actually think of my business differently, but I still service my clients and I have the basics. I also had to evolve with time. Because if you really think about it, right, there's internet, there is Facebook, right?
Yep.
There is Instagram. There's 100 million ways people look at you. So I had to actually expand, but also keep my basics in focus with customer service.
Yep.
Pick up my phone. I went to a Brian Buffini.
What a concept.
What a concept, right? Pick up your phone.
Pick up your phone.
I went to a Brian Buffini seminar, which was fantastic in Virginia.
Yeah.
And he says, very interesting, he says that when I came to Richmond, he says, I started to call agents about their listings. He says, out of 12 phone calls, he had received one return phone call. One.
12 to 1. Crazy.
Why would you not pick up the phone when somebody's calling you? I pick up the phone all the time. Obviously, when I'm on a listing presentation, I don't.
Of course.
I give in. But I return phone calls. My policy is 2 hours. If somebody calls me, I return a phone call within 2 hours.
Well, and if you think about it too, with the way society is now, we are a very instant gratification world. And then if you add the millennial factor into it, we're even more instant gratification kind of people.
Sure.
And so we expect a response faster. And if a lead
Sorry.
calls
Keep
you,
talking.
please. If a lead calls you or emails you, you want to make sure that you can reach out to them as quickly as possible, or guess what? They're going to move on to the next agent. And that's why Thomas has been so successful too, because A, he picks up his phone, but also he knows how to talk to people. I don't know how many times I've heard agents, we were just talking earlier about scripts and how agents get so reliant on reading an outline versus connecting with the person and figuring out what their needs are, what they're looking for, what their struggles are. I mean, when you're sitting down with a homeowner, what kind of conversation do you have? Do you flip through each little...
It's a secret.
Oh, just kidding. Can't share too much. But do you just flip through a presentation?
Answer is no.
Yeah.
Because, another true story. So with Remax,
Yeah.
because I was with Remax for 20 years, about 6 or 7 years ago, and anybody actually went to Las Vegas, about 11,000 people knows the same thing because we sat through it. When our CEO came out and he says, well, all of you have failed because your consumer have actually filed a complaint against all of you. And of course we're looking at each other, all of us.
Yeah.
We are the best of the best. What do you mean all of us? And he says, well, there is one thing all of you have failed to do that your consumer really, really wants you to do.
What he said?
What the heck is that?
Yeah.
And he says, you don't know how to listen. That's not very true.
Yeah.
So most of us don't know how to listen. So when people do scripts, I'm giving you a conversation what I want you to have with you. So I'm reading this, but I need to ask you those questions, but you fail to listen. You're expecting an answer based on these questions, which I'm sure it works.
Yeah.
And I think there should be maybe a frame of the majority of the conversation, but if you don't listen to people, how you expect them to relate to you? If you don't understand what they want, what they're looking for, what is their struggle, right?
Yep.
How would you know that?
Yeah, you
See, the
wouldn't.
clip doesn't give you that. What it gives you is an outline of the topic,
Right.
outline of the question to it. It doesn't give you the actual person, because
Yeah.
all of us are different. All of us think differently,
Right.
have different situations, different of everything.
Big time. Did you always have a knack for talking to people? Like when you were first getting into real estate, what was kind of your process to get in front of people? Because they didn't know you here yet.
You know, funny enough, apparently when I was a kid, my mother told me that when I was very young, I talked to anybody. There was no stranger in the world. But older I grew, I became extremely painfully shy.
Really?
To the point that I was sitting in the back of the classroom and everybody liked me because I was very quiet and very docile. So when I went to my high school reunion after 25 years, people did not believe me I was in real estate. Said, you? It's like, yeah.
Really?
I'm a very successful real estate broker. And
Yeah.
they look at me like, there is no way. You were so shy, I didn't talk to anybody. I was like, I was? Awesome.
So when did that seem to change? When did you come out of your shell a little bit?
When I had to.
Yeah, yeah. Did
Now, let me-
basketball probably
let
helped
me-
too?
Yes. So I had to come out of my shell because I had to communicate. So when I grew up, it was no mommy and no daddy, and there was nobody there for me who
Right.
can actually speak for me. So I guess I had to make a choice. Either I speak up for myself or just let other people tell me what to do. But also I do think it has to come with how you grew up,
Yeah.
about personality, right? Because I need to have my downtime, which means I cannot talk all day long.
Right.
I also need some time for myself. But talking to me comes natural, and one of the reasons is because I also like to get to know people, right? So I'm a people person, you can tell. But I also know that one thing I guess I've been given a fortunate attribute in life is not necessarily that I read people, and not necessarily that I know everything, but a lot of times when you talk to more and more people, it gives you what? It gives you a sample size of hundreds of people,
Right.
how to talk to people, how they act.
Yeah.
So basically I always try to draw, for example, if I talk to an engineer, what an engineer would be more sensitive to, right? In my opinion, those are numbers. They like to see numbers because
Right.
that's what they do all day.
Analytical, yeah.
Analytical, correct. Same as a nuclear engineer or same as a computer engineer, right? Sometimes when I talk to doctors, their approach is very, very different. Right?
Interesting.
So more I talk to people, more I understand them to know what is not necessarily what is the push buttons they have,
Right.
but what is a conversation we go to, what do they value most.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So always
then
try
it's not
to
wasting
adjust.
their time.
Yes, of course,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And yours, for that matter.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's awesome. That's amazing. So, obviously, I mean,
Hold on.
oh yeah, so good. The food's amazing. When you moved to Raleigh, did you come here by yourself when you first moved here? Did you move here with your family? Oh yeah, mouthful of food.
Sorry.
So, real quick,
Yes.
we were just talking a few minutes ago, and we were just eating a fabulous breakfast.
Yum.
And we both are big foodies, but
Yes.
Thomas comes from Hungary. So I was curious, what does a classic Hungarian breakfast look like?
I don't think you want to know. I really don't.
I really do, though.
So, what I remember from my childhood,
Yeah.
it wasn't really anything cooked. It's usually maybe some scrambled eggs,
Okay.
maybe a piece of bread,
Okay.
maybe some fresh peppers, but I don't really remember of anything nutritious.
Yeah.
What I remember, however, since I go home every year to see my parents, at least my mom, that when I go to a market in the morning to get some food, whatever, for lunch, I see people around always a buffet. Now the buffet is not a buffet you have in the US. A buffet means they serve alcohol. So in there you actually have a Hungarian fried dough, which is called langos.
Okay.
And I see those little glasses and I always wonder what's in them. Well, you know what's in them? Shots.
First thing in the morning.
First thing in the morning. And a lot of times, because my country still smokes,
Yeah.
it's a cigarette and a cup of coffee. Now that's typical. Then you can actually add some eggs to it or some sausage.
Yeah.
But it's not really healthy.
That's funny.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it's very delicious.
Right.
Not the cigarette.
Yeah.
But
Of course.
the sausage is
Disclaimer.
good. Yeah, disclaimer, yes. Don't smoke, that's not the point. But that's pretty much, yes.
Interesting.
It's very, very
Interesting.
different than you would think.
Let's talk about some awards. So you are a very, very well-recognized agent here in the Raleigh market. What kind of awards have you received that you've been super proud of?
Well, not to brag, but I received literally every
Brag.
single award that to win.
Really?
So interesting that you asked that. So I am very, very proud of literally everything I won from the bottom to the top. But one interesting dilemma came to me, which I'm sure is not in a script.
Yeah.
But when I hit number 1 in 2006, I had a huge dilemma.
Yeah.
I became the most successful agent in the state of North Carolina, in Raleigh, Cary region, Chapel Hill, Durham, the areas I serve,
And is that by production?
by production, yes.
Crazy.
But the dilemma came, where do you go from there?
When
So
you've
I-
already reached that level.
So after 22 years, I finally hit number 1.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I hit number 1.
Right.
Where do you go from there?
Yeah.
And the
That's a
only way
great
you
question.
can go is backwards, which I'm not willing to do. But that was a very, very, very tough spot that most people would think, oh my God, you're number 1, are you crazy?
Right.
Probably.
Yeah.
Because, well, a little bit at least. Because while I'm very, very happy to say I am the best,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
also think that I fail in some other things in life because you
Right.
cannot be perfect with everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But overall, in my opinion, being number 1 also brings a lot of responsibilities.
Big time.
To show an example, to be a good role model, to do business the right way. So that was always my model.
Yeah.
But I literally won every single award except one.
Crazy.
Except one.
What was that one?
So with Remax, they actually have, I think, a Diamond Award, which is $1 million income per year plus. I haven't reached that level yet as an individual agent, so I'm sorry, I'm a total failure. So I haven't reached that. I'm not going to discuss how close I was once, but let's just say I never won that.
but you were close.
Yeah, but that's pretty much the only one.
Interesting. But reaching those awards, I'm sure you need, there's hard days, there's good days, there's bad days.
Of course.
So what inspires you? Like, is there something in particular that inspires you to get out, to hustle on those tough days?
I don't go to work.
Did you hear that?
I don't think I go to work any day because I literally love what I do. I find my life's passion.
Yeah.
It is my passion to help others.
Yeah.
Run a business, I try to be a good person doing that and stay a good person.
Yeah.
But I honestly think that, when you're talking about what inspires me, right, is helping others.
Yeah.
And, sometimes when somebody listens to this probably said, oh, you must have a fucked up childhood. And I probably did. However, it also helps me to help others. So I grew up without a father.
Yeah.
My father left when I was very young. So my mother and my grandmother raised me.
Wow.
My derived things is basically give me the basis for my success,
Yeah.
which I hope I can contribute that to my upbringing.
Yeah.
But also I was always missing something, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So real estate is my passion. I find my life calling.
Yeah.
And also helping others is important because in my opinion it's not what you take from the world, it's what you give back.
I love that.
Right? So if you really think about business is business, I get that. But I never run my business, as strange as it sounds, I have never done that.
Yeah.
I always run my business as a personal service that will benefit everybody involved.
Right.
So the philosophy is not the money. The philosophy is take care of others and you will be taken care of.
Yeah.
So that is from the old country, I guess, old country mentality.
Yeah.
Because I never learned business. I studied history.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, I
Crazy.
wanted to be a nuclear engineer.
What?
You go figure that, yes.
Crazy.
But that didn't work out too well because physics and I don't get along that well.
Yeah.
So
Oh my
go
gosh.
figure.
Well, it sounds like you chose the right path, and you're definitely solid on that. But it's just amazing because I think that the right mentality is lacking in a lot of businesses nowadays in real estate, and people are so focused on the new tech, the new tools, the new this, the numbers, the bottom line. But just like what you said, the whole critical piece of your success is you care, you give a shit about your clients and doing the best thing for them. So
and
that's
also
amazing.
a firm believer of karma.
Yeah, karma's a beep.
Yeah.
So you could.
Do you have a way to mark this as explicit?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure we can.
Yeah.
So who do you surround yourself with? Is that important to you? Who's around you in business? Has that impacted?
Yeah, only losers.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Sarcasm.
Yeah, of course. Who you surround yourself with? Losers, lazy people, complacent agents, no.
But it's true though.
I
a lot
surround
do.
myself with people actually who have a good outlook on life, who are
Yeah.
positive.
Yeah.
Because see, to me, you don't have to be successful to begin with.
Yeah.
You have to be positive and you have to have the attitude that you want to move forward. So
Yeah.
I like to see people when they have a motivation, right? So I surround myself with people, oh, by the way, what does it exactly mean surrounding myself? Because everybody says that you surround yourself with, people smarter than you are,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No, that's my wife.
Yeah.
Hello, wife. You're smarter than me. I get it.
He admitted it.
Yes. But I surround myself with people who want to be successful,
Yeah.
who thrive to be successful,
Yeah.
who actually, in my opinion, good human beings,
Yeah.
and also
At the core.
want to learn.
Yeah.
Because one thing I have noticed, a lot of people who think they know, they stop learning. And I think until we die, we do not stop learning.
Yeah.
And if you do, then what's worth of living? Why do you
Right,
live?
right.
So I'm always looking forward to the next challenge,
Yeah.
the next ability to learn. I mean, after the 25th year in real estate, I attended a course in our office. I learned one thing that changed my life. One thing after 25 years.
Crazy.
You go figure that.
One thing.
One thing. So, in my opinion, people need to be open-minded
Yeah.
regards to what it is to come, what it is to bring. Because if you're walking around life with this, with a
Right.
closed fist, right? You
Right.
cannot receive anything. So when you open up your hands, you can actually open it up to receive and also to give. So
And it's a 50-50. You
Oh,
can't,
absolutely.
right? Which I think is really, really critical. Now, real estate isn't all rainbows and butterflies.
For sure.
Let's be honest. So, what things in real estate frustrate you right now that you're dealing with?
So real estate, in my opinion, is an organized chaos in many cases, because you cannot predict how somebody will react to what you say.
True.
And it doesn't have to make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Some people go home, think about something, they turn it around, and said, okay, well, you did that. Well, I wasn't even there.
Right.
Right? And sometimes you actually have to correct a situation you have nothing to do with.
Yeah.
And I can go into examples after examples,
Yeah.
but basically predicting the unpredictable, and that is the hardest part.
Crazy. Yeah.
Now, I have a good ability to try to handle it, but I'm not always successful correcting that, because sometimes people dig their own grave, quote unquote,
Right.
which means they get into situations when I tell them not to do it, but they still do it because it's their free choice, not a problem. But then turn around and say, why did you not tell me?
Yeah.
Can you help me? You figure it out. And I do that. But it would be just a whole lot easier if everybody walks together versus everybody goes a different direction.
Right.
And try to figure out what the heck are we doing.
Yeah.
And that's why in business, when you have a good relationship with people, right, and a mutual respect, when everybody goes the same direction, everybody have a different idea of how to go about it, which is fine, as long as you discuss.
Right.
Because when you know that this is how I do business, this is how you react to it, whatever, it's easier to walk that line versus everybody just does something differently without communication.
And you have that consistency in place.
Yes.
So every client's gonna have the same experience, the same amount of communication, the same level of dedication from you, which is critical, I think, no matter what industry you're in, whether you're in real estate
and
or
let
not.
me give you a good example, which is going to go back to people that I don't have any termination. I didn't have any termination last year, but I had one 11 years ago or 10 years ago. And it was actually a buyer. And the buyer said to me that schools are the single most important thing in life.
Yeah.
Because we have 2 children, we like to have the best schools. And I said, absolutely, here is a list of the best schools.
Yeah.
It is A, B, and C.
Yeah.
A actually have a stellar reputation. Everybody buys houses in that neighborhood because it's actually the only school district has never changed in the last 20 years. And the house you're looking for in your price range is in the particular neighborhood, although there are other schools around that could qualify, but they're not the best. They're just good.
Right.
So long story short, 2 weeks later I get an email from them stating that they actually bought a house in a different town, which doesn't have a good school district, because they find a brand new house that was big.
Yeah.
And the reason they did that because I tried to push them into a house that was older. So
even though
once
you were
again,
giving them what was...
That was they were asking. I mean,
Right,
never looked at a
right.
single house.
Right.
Only give them the advice, if this is what you want,
Yeah.
this is what you have.
Yeah.
And then they completely disregarded their core criteria, went somewhere else, 30 miles away, bought a house in okay school districts, as I said, things like that happen.
Right.
And it cannot eat you up because really I have nothing to do with it.
Right.
Although I was shocked,
Yeah.
but
It wasn't in your control.
it happens, so
Yeah.
it's not in your control. So you always
Yeah.
try to control the situation
Right.
in such a way that you do your best
Yeah.
and give your best advice.
Yeah.
But not everybody want to listen to it. And it's
Right.
okay.
Right.
And it is okay.
Yeah. And actually, do you want to slide
Oh.
in here? You want to
Hello,
come
Marty.
in? Can I
Hi.
get her in here? So, quick disclaimer, I had Marty Hampton pop in here real quick to complete this conversation, because there are some big changes happening, not just in real estate, I think, not just in the industry, but actually within Marty's business and Thomas's business. And so I wanted to bring her in so we can all kind of conversate real quick on this critical change we are making. So you guys know, Thomas, you've been with RE/MAX for how long?
20 years.
Marty, you've been with RE/MAX for
26 years.
Wow.
Dang. So RE/MAX veterans who have been with that business, with that brand for so long. Let me start with you, Thomas. What has initially interested you in looking outside the brand?
So I love RE/MAX. I've been a top producing agent. I'm a #1 agent, which obviously a previous conversation you already know. What I have noticed that was a very, very slow changing machine with technology. And because I do love my wife I do love my wife sincerely, she and I had a conversation for a long, long time, because she also in her work she has to change because technology evolves very, very fast, right? So what we say to each other, and I do not know where this quoted from, in order for us to stay the same, we have to change. And I have not seen that change coming from Remax, although they are trying, but I think it is too little and too late. So what I see with new companies, and this is something going to be a sensitive subject, so you guys can censor this.
Yeah.
I'm a top producing agent, but I'm not young.
Yeah.
And anybody who's a big heavy hitter having that value, they're not in their 20s or 30s.
Right.
But we are the present, what coming behind us is the future.
Right.
And what I have seen with EXP, they have a huge recruitment of younger agents to incubate and into top producers as we are, which I don't see the same thing with Remax. Because we're only recruiting the top big guys, which is great, but who's going to come after, right? So the philosophy is a little bit different. The other reason I have changed, because when Remax went public, and this is only my personal problem, I was never given an opportunity to buy stocks for a firm I've been basically paying for 20 years, my corporate office. And
You guys got lots of glass trophies.
that I have to pay for.
Right.
So I don't necessarily like that idea. So while, if nothing else, give me a 5% off or 10% off, even if you don't give anything free. I don't want free. I want an opportunity. I was never given an opportunity. So that's one of my pet peeves that I really, really, really didn't like. Because of that, what I have seen with a new company with EXP, they have the recruitment, they have the technology, they have stock options, right? So to me, that is the future. In order for me to stay the same, I have to change.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mari?
I think you are a smart guy. I think that he's a tall, good-looking Hungarian guy.
Glass of water.
Even you can wear
you.
your highest heels with this guy, it's not a problem. But you know what I see, and I work with several people that were born in Europe and they come to America, or born in another country and they come to America, and they got such a high work ethic. And I've always seen that with you, and that's why you were and are the #1 agent North and South Carolina for Remax all those years. But I totally agree with you, and I couldn't have said it better myself. It's like Remax is kind of like moving the Titanic, as opposed to, and let's face it, the model was built, it was a disruptor of its time. It really is the reason people have high commissions in the first place.
Yes.
So it had its place, but it was in the 1970s model. It was last century. It couldn't possibly compete with how fast technology is going right now. You said that so well. And your wife has given you a good perspective there.
Thank you.
I think.
She does. She does.
Oh
Thank
my
you.
gosh. I mean, but making that decision to move, I'm sure for both of you was not easy, right?
No.
So, I mean, was it a time-consuming process that you had to rigorously figure out all the details before you made a decision, or?
Answer is yes and no, because see, to give you a background, the reason I came to join Marty's office, because I look up to her, because that is somebody who was to me in a pedestal that, oh my God, this is Marty
next level.
who does that level of business I only
Yeah.
dream of doing. So I
Yeah.
say, might as well I come to her office and learn from her.
Right.
So the notion of the many of the very high producing agents, I'm not on their level, although I'm #1 individual, but not on a team level,
Yeah.
right? They start to think about the new company and the new ideas. It's like, I needed to listen, because obviously there are things I still don't know, I'm still learning, right? So when I listened to it and I saw that, and I looked into it and further investigating it, I was like, oh, it makes perfect sense. Change is very, very hard. I don't like moving, I don't like changes.
Nobody
But
likes
I
moving.
also think that in order for me to have a better serving real estate firm or a real estate person or a broker or a company, I have to evolve with time and I have to have the right tools, right? You asked me before about awards. One of the most award I'm proud of is not really an award, believe it or not. It's actually a designation, it's a CRS. It's only 4% of all agents actually have it in a whole country regardless of affiliation. It's like a PhD in real estate.
Got it.
And it enables me to actually serve my clients better. Because if I don't have that, if I do not have the right tools, how can I go out and say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm a right person to protect your money, to make you money, and have a great transaction. I couldn't do it,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you feel the same way about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So this is it for episode 34 of the Restless Real Estate Podcast. We are so excited.
I can talk more.
So we went through breakfast and real estate and brand changes. So there's so much happening, I think, in the industry right now. Not just for you both, but just, I think, in general. And so we hope you enjoyed this episode today and you learned something, and hopefully you took some notes from this fabulous top producer, because the way he's built his business is so unique and so honest and so translucent, which I really, really respect. I know Marty respects a lot. So thank you so much for being part of this with us.
I appreciate it.
And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to him at thomaswohl.com or Marty Hampton at, of course, martyhampton.com.
Yes, of course.
And we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.